Alright, now that I've had a couple hours of sleep, got a lot of work to do on this guy. I'm going to go over the steps and try to go through it a little bit at a time and show y'all exactly what I'm doing to get it to a point where I'm going to be able to full body mount it. Now, if I do mess up and I decide I'm just going to turn it into a wall hanger, I have a friend looking for coyote claws, so the feet won't go to waste. First thing you do, it's case skinned, flip it inside out, because they're going to work around the ear butts here. You're going to work a lot of around the eyes, and then you're also going to skin around the lips. That way you got either, since you're doing a mount, you're going to need to be able to tuck. Well, this one's real easy to see. You have this black skin here and this white skin. You're going to use your knife and skin in between this white skin and this black skin till you get to the very edge of the lip. The edge of the lip here is where you're going to stop, because you need that tanning solution to go penetrate both sides of this.
Daddy, we need your help.
Do what? I have my little one here too. He's giving me a hand. He helps me with everything. He thinks he's a cameraman. Don't mess with my camera. Get out of here. But once you get an edge started, it's really easy to just kind of pull up on that inner lip. Let the weight of the hide pull down to separate this. Now, since this is going to be a mount, I'm going to try to clear as much as this thicker meat off of it once I start the fleshing process. But I'm not going to overly worry about it, because it will dry perfectly fine. It's the same for if you're doing a wall hanger. And a wall hanger is just basically the hide hangs on the wall from the nose. Or you tack it out to a board or something like that, and that's it. So it's basically a flat mounted animal. Doesn't hurt to leave some of that membrane on, but you don't want an excess amount. You want that tanning solution to penetrate as much as possible. And you're going to do this all the way around the mouth, the eyes, where the eyelid was, and then the ears. We'll come to that in a minute. But this is a very long, time-consuming process, because you're going to want to take your time. Sharp knife preferably works best. Anybody that knows me knows my knives stay razor sharp, because I don't like dull knives. Dull knives make you work hard. I'm not working hard. Well, I do, but for the most part I try not to. Today I'm just using a case, small peanut pocket knife to do all this fine work around the mouth, nose, and eyes, and on the ears. I'm out in the workshop, so you're gonna hear some rain. We got a little bit of a storm working in on us today. Nothing too bad. And now there is a trick. A lot of people won't show you this. If you put your finger on that edge, you're going to feel how it's rounded. When you get it as flat as you want it, it will be flat from the inner lip to the hide itself. So you won't feel no lip there whatsoever, or you'll feel very minuscule of a bump there. And that's what you're wanting. From the inner lip to the fur. So you're just going to have that bump there. That bump you want gone, because that's hide on hide. That's the inner lip still connected to the outer lip. And you have to separate that or it'll cause slippage on the outer lip. Now the other part of this that a lot of people won't tell you, you're going to want to keep your hide cool. The cooler, the better. And since I'm here in Florida, and it is 75 degrees or however hot it is this afternoon, I didn't think to check when I got up, because I'm going based off of what the hide feels like as I'm working it. So you're going to take your time, but make sure your hide doesn't get too warm. Heat causes slippage, which causes your fur, and slippage is your fur slipping out of the skin itself. If it was being buckskin tan, no fur on, then you wouldn't worry about it at all. Now when you get to the whiskers here, you're going to see the follicles as you're skinning. Try to stay closer to the inner lip and leave those follicles alone. See, you can see the follicles within the hide. You don't want to cut those. If you cut those, your whiskers come out. And you really want to not have to glue whiskers back in. If you do cut them, no worries. It is as simple as reinserting them with a sewing needle before you mount. When the hide itself dries, it'll tighten down on them so much, and it's not like people pull on their whiskers anyway. It'll tighten down so much that it'll lock them back into place. And it's just a matter of a lot of detailed work going into it. People wonder why taxidermists charge so much. That's why. Because it is a lot of work. And I'm lucky enough to be able to do this at home as a hobby. So I got my son coming up wanting to help with everything, because me and him are inseparable. And he's just my best friend. Trying to keep it on camera so that away you can kind of see what I'm doing to split this as far as I need it split. Now, how I'm going to mount this, I'm not putting him on a standard form. I have tried the standard forms before. I don't really like them. I have discovered a new way of filling their bodies that I prefer. If I was doing eyes, I'd order a foam head. But for the most part, I'm not overly concerned about having enough inner lip or eyelid to tuck, because I'm going to actually sew them together. So that way they're not really visible, and it'll work out for me to do my mounting. If you're doing this when it's warm, other than the temperature, having a fan on you to minimize flies landing on you. Flies landing on you, they will lay eggs, and that's a huge problem. Because that's not good at all. And once again, you can see the row of whiskers just kind of skinning over the top of those. I don't want to cut that follicle root if I can help it at all. And when I actually do my fleshing of his face and mouth, I'll probably do it here in a minute, because around his face instead of putting him on the fleshing beam. That way I don't take a chance of messing up any of these hairs, since I'm going to try to do a full body mount. Now on the nose, I try to skin it out all around that whole front of the upper lip. You can see it's separated, inner lip from outer lip.
Daddy.
What, son?
What is that, Daddy?
You're fine. I left a good chunk of cartilage when I was skinning him out. So I'm going to skin around that cartilage just that much more. The way I'm mounting him, I like to keep this cartilage long through the tanning process, so I can control this a little more if I keep it long. If my mannequin's a little short or something on the head, I can use foam or clay around the mannequin head, shape it to match this to lengthen the snout. Because sometimes we get mannequins that are not exactly perfect.
Sorry, Daddy.
Anthony, get away from my camera, dude. Go on. Anthony, stop. Stop.
I did.
Go. Yeah, just stretch that cartilage out. You can leave it long. You can always cut that off later. It will dry perfectly fine. I know some taxidermists cut it all off and just leave the In this case, it'll be the black nose, and I probably will later, but I'm not worried about it right this instant. I'd rather have it than not later. Now, if everything does go wrong and this turns into a wall hanger, I'll just trim that inner lip off and call it a day. It's one of those tedious processes that you do for one step, or one way versus the other. Things go wrong, don't get upset about it. Improvise. I mean, it's gonna happen. So far, it's doing alright. Inner lip separated from the outer lip. And you can actually almost see through there, which is perfect. If I had a full taxidermist setup, I would shave that material down to be even thinner. So, over the years of me being a self-taxidermist, I take the time to really watch my chemical solutions to preserve that where I don't have to shave it down as much. If I had the materials and the funds to shave it down every time I have a project like this, or even another taxidermy project, I mean, the tool to do it's over $1,000. They have us cheaper ones that are like $500, but I enjoy doing other stuff, so we're not putting in a whole lot of this funds. I'm gonna take my time, use a wee little pocket knife, skin it out to where, I mean, they didn't have those machines 100 years ago, so I mean, they were doing it somehow. Now this front lip's going to be a little tricky. It gets mighty narrow right there from the inside inner lip to the outer lip. So that's going to be very tricky. You're not going to have a very big amount of that inner lip to work with. The cheeks and the upper lip aren't so bad. It's going to require you to take your time a little more. In my case, wake up a little more, get some coffee, because we're doing this literally from waking up from a nap. Alright, on any canine, you're going to have these little, I don't know, nubs along the bottom of the lip. You're just slowly going to work it. You'll feel those nubs go kind of flat, but you're still going to have muscle tissue in there, or membrane. Once again, don't get 100% worried about it. Now, you also got whiskers on this bottom chin too, so you're going to have to really watch this front section not to hit whiskers, if at all possible. And I'll go over the two different ways I'm doing these two mounts, with the one being the wall hanger. When I go over skinning out the ears, that's all I'm going to do to that other one besides the normal fleshing process. And it is a very tedious process to skin anything for a mount. I'm sure there's other taxidermists that have been doing it for 40 years and make a good living on it. I don't want that toy. I do this as a hobby. A lot of times friends and family gift me cool items that they'd like to see mounted. If I mount it, I think I did a good enough job, I gift it back to them. But it is one of those things where it's a hobby. I do it on my free time, which sometimes I get a lot of free time, sometimes I don't. Sometimes we just work our ass off all day long, and I'm actually making time to empty freezers this year. Because that's another thing, they don't tell you when you get into hide tanning and taxidermy, freezer space, it's not like you're going to have one freezer. No. I mean, I'm sure there's some people that do. But if you start getting behind, you're like, yeah, I'll just go buy another freezer. If you've ever had a freezer go out and you lose hides that were important to you or a friend or family member, or even a customer, if you're doing this for a full-time business, you know, it's not a great feeling. And that's something nobody told me when I got started in it, because I didn't have nobody to talk to. And everything I learned, we learned by YouTube and trial and error. And trust me, I ruined a lot of firsts. With just a little quick sneak peek into the problem with being a taxidermist is your freezers. 1, 2, 3. That one's a backup, and then I have the little one. Kind of has some food in it, but not really. Mostly furs, also. It's a lot of work. I've been working my ass off, and I'm still kind of making a dent in the freezers. So, we're getting there. We're also trying to tackle new projects, like, probably going to be some cowhide leather in the future. Maybe a couple rugs. I have a friend, well, my dad has somebody that does cow butchering, so I can go pick up scrap hides that they just toss out because there's no money in saving them anymore. There used to be, not anymore. It's just cheaper to bury them. But not a worries. I'm going to try to utilize as much as possible when it comes to everything I harvest or my friends and family harvest. I mean, I have family members that will call me to butcher their deer, get it cut and quartered in the cooler for them so they can take it to a butcher. And we'll go over the cut and quartering of a deer in a later video. I think this year I might actually do a little hunting. Haven't hunted in probably 10 years. So yeah, you just follow that lip all the way around the edge. There's going to be a couple parts that are kind of finicky with it being a canine. I mean, you can look at your dog's lip and kind of see how much of a pain the front section of the lip is going to be. Because coyotes are just like your dog's anatomy in the most part. But yeah, that front lip right there, you want to get it all the way to the edge and have it laying almost flat. And you know, the way I just said that, a lot of people will pull this out of context. If you live anywhere, you got a coyote problem. That includes the city. Coyotes have adapted to become city coyotes. You might not notice them if you got bigger dogs, but for the most part, you got them. I just lost a cat a little while ago, or a couple weeks ago, because I had a coyote coming up in the yard to grab my cat. I grabbed my kittens off my son's cat. And that is not going to fly. Alright. The eye, you want it to look like that when you're done. You're going to skin all the way out to the eyelashes. Move those whiskers there. To the eyelashes. And just to where this becomes a sock. You're going to cut this off later on to trim it to the size you need to tuck in around the eye itself. For me, I'm not going to have an eye because he's going to be sleeping. So I will actually sew these two pieces of skin together and tuck back in once it's done. But I just take and put my finger through there and pull up. I can actually see where this inner eyelid, or this, inner eyelid is based off of the hide. Now I'm just going to kind of trim it back ever so slightly. I mean, putting your finger inside the hide and cutting towards your finger is probably the best way to figure out your placement. Now, I will say, if you're using razor sharp knives, be careful. There's many times where I will go to work and the tips of my fingers will be glued shut while I'm overnight stocking at Walmart putting cans on the shelf because I messed up. No worries. Just carry extra super glue throughout the night. That way if it pops open, glue it back together, you're good to go. Pulling on that edge a little bit. This is where I'm going to start kind of taking some of this flesh off the head area to the ears from around the eyes, since I don't need it there anymore other than what I want to keep for mounting purposes. Just letting my nose area kind of hang as I'm cutting away some of this. Now you will see hair follicles. You don't want to cut into those. You want to stay above those. It's better to have too much meat that you can take off later. Not meat, membrane. Then cut a hole in your mount. And it is a very slow, tedious process. But you'll see right where you need to cut. Now, you saw me pull on it just a little bit there. I have the membrane over here, the hide over here. If I give it just a slight pull, you can see where it turns white in between. You cut that. That'll help with separating it if you're not 100% sure where to cut. And now I'm going to take this all the way up to this ear butt, and I'm going to skin some of the cheek up to the ear butt as well. Now if you do cut a hide, no worries. Or cut a hole. It's not the end of the world. Because as a taxidermist, you learn to sew. Your clothes may not look the best when you get done, but the hole's gone. If it was a fur coat, ain't nobody gonna notice a thing. Now with a wall hanger, I would take majority of this ear butt off. But since I'm doing a mount, the full body mount on this black coyote, I'm not even gonna really worry with it, because I'm probably gonna utilize this cartilage once I get all this fat and membrane off of the cartilage itself. It's a very time-consuming process. You'll see a huge change once I get through all this. You can actually see where the comes into the ear itself, or comes into where the skull would attach. Make sure I don't drop that in my coffee cup. Alright, this is where it comes into the skull, attaches to the skull. I'll take and run my finger, well, yeah, let me run my finger up in there. So I can go over this, and then if I did one process like the eye, I'm gonna repeat it on the next process. Same as the ear. You're gonna put one finger pushing out on the hide from the inside, and you'll pull on that ear butt. It's going to be essentially the same process as the flipping of the lips or skinning of the lips. You're going to take this all the way to the very edge of the ear. And what that does is the hair, you can see my thumb in there. Okay. This hair will fall out if it's left on this cartilage, the inner cartilage. The hair on the inside of the ear will not. I mean, it might, but in the most chances, it does not. That cartilage will dry out in the salting process and lock that hair in. It is a very simple but time-consuming process, and it's the same thing. Follow that edge with your finger as much as possible. I mean, you'll know. I don't like sewing up ears, so I really take my time. Apologize for not looking at the camera as much, because sewing up fur is something I don't care for. So if I take my time and do it right, I ain't gotta sew. Some of y'all will say, well, it's because you're a guy. Nah. If it was that case, I wouldn't be sourcing furs to sew my son a jacket for fur. It's actually part of the project that's laid on the boards behind me, but I didn't show those. We'll have to leave that as a surprise when that time comes. Now, on any taxidermy website, they do sell ear opening tools. I thought I had a pair somewhere, but it's one of those I don't 100% worry about it because I don't do nearly enough taxidermy to worry about it. And to be honest, I probably won't ever do that much taxidermy because it's not something that pays enough for me to do. And everybody says, well, yeah, you get $1,000 to do a full body coyote mount. Yeah, but the time I take to put into that, and then the materials, everything I've learned, for the most part self-taught, because I didn't want to go to any of the taxidermy schools, because for me it's a hobby. The leather making is a hobby. It was my way of learning how to further use of each and every part of an animal. And anybody that knows me will tell you I will not waste a thing. And I've even stopped to pick up roadkill because as a taxidermist or leather maker, there's some animals that you'll see on the side of the road and you're like, hey, that'll make a pretty cool mount. I could turn that into a wall hanger. And then you also have the challenging aspect of it of, well, I ain't mounted one of those yet. And that's pretty much how it goes. Like I said, you're just going to work it way up to the tip. I'm not quite there yet. And you can keep flipping it and checking it. Find it again here. Yeah. And you can see where the finger is versus where I have to actually get. Pretty good on the edge here. I don't have much of a lip. That's just his earlobe. And there's a lot of work in trying to get to where I want this to be. But once this is tanned, I will actually probably do an epoxy setup in his ears to give me the perkiness I want in them, because I don't want them laid down or I don't want them to crumple. Now they do sell ear liners, which are not something I really want to get into. If this is something you're going to do and you're not doing it, we're just watching this for hobbies, watch 100 other videos before you make your decision on what exactly you want to do. I've used the ear liners. I don't care for them. I've watched other people mount deers differently and other animals differently that I like their idea on how they do it. And that's basically all it is. We got to learn from each other as taxidermists and hide tanners. And anybody that's holding out on their secrets or whatever, don't be mad at them about it. Because you got to figure, a lot of times that's their extra income. I mean, they're making money doing this. They're not always going to share with somebody that could possibly move in on their territory and take out of their pocket. So that's what I'm saying. If you watch a lot of your YouTube channels, I mean, I probably have subscriptions to 40 or 50 that I actually watch taxidermy on regularly throughout the day. I listen to podcasts on fur markets and everything like that, because that's where it's at. I know the coyotes I catch here in Florida aren't worth very much, so it's better for me to take them, tan them myself for crafts or leather goods that I can do myself. Or if they're neat, like this black one. You know, I said I was looking for a black one, told my dad, you know, I was wanting to catch me a black coyote. You know, never had any luck. Well, one of his friends went out one night, managed to shoot a black coyote. Called my dad. My dad's like, well, yeah, we'll take a black coyote. Because, of course, it comes up in conversation. And I ended up with this beautiful black coyote. And you see me using my knee to kind of hold the cartilage as I push and pull at the same time to really get to that last final edge. of the ear. So you're going to take it up to the very edge of that ear. And I am there. He's starting to bounce, huh? And then any of this excess meat, you can trim it off. I'm not 100% worried about it right now because I got another eye and an ear to do. But I have to get this back in the fridge because his face is getting a little warm for what I like. And I don't want any slippage. So I'll do the other ear, or eye and ear, here in a little bit once he cools back down. And I'll come back to y'all when I get to doing the feet. I got to do front feet and back feet. And I'll do 1 foot. They're all identical. If you skin 1 foot one way, you're going to skin all the rest of the 3 feet the other way. Or the same exact way. And then he'll be ready to get this fat and membrane on the carcass off. Membrane is okay for the most part around the shoulders. Fat is absolutely not. Every bit of fat has to come off this fur. And I will bring y'all back for that as well. And we'll edit it all together in the end. But I will come back to y'all when I'm ready to do these.